Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Let's Connect Now. What episode are we at, JR?
20 maybe.
20 maybe? Oh my gosh, something like 19 or 20th. I don't know, one of those two. But today I'm so happy to have Amanda Alonso. Don't ask me how I met her because I have never really. I only met her like briefly, not that long ago. But she was following us on Instagram, and I was looking at her page, and I guess one thing led to another, um, and then I finally met you, and she actually came to our office to the Greater West Covina, and I don't know. I was so shocked to hear that she was the girl that was following me from FemPowerDen. FemPowerDen. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Yeah, FemPowerDen. So tell us exactly what that is, Amanda.
Okay, so FemPowerDen is I broke it down to a woman's networking center. And I'll just say that because when I actually went through like the business licensing with West Covina, I was on the phone with the girl for like 30 minutes trying to figure out like, what is this place? And I was like, well, it's like this. And we couldn't find like the coding that you needed for the business license. So then we finally settled on like, okay, we're going to just call this a women's networking center. And we picked whatever the code was. But it's a women's networking center. But all in all, you can call it an event space if you want to as well. I myself host events there as a FemPowerDen, and all of the events are somehow focused usually around women empowerment. We do have fun ones like paint night where it's like come drink, come paint, and that one's not really much networking or anything, but everything else is usually a woman empowerment event that I host there. But it's also open for other women to rent out and use it for their space as well to host any of their own events. I've had girls host like vision board parties there. I've had people host cookie decorating parties there. Other brunches, like other women panelist brunches. I think somebody did a craft night the other night. Like you could use it for whatever you want, and it's, I would say, highly accessible price range, and that was made for a purpose. But yeah, it's a spot in West Covina that I always, dreamed of. I'm from West Covina, I grew up here, and I've always wanted, a space for women to be able to help build their own brand in a space that was accessible for them to do that.
That's really cool. I actually researched, I peeked into your Instagram page. I just kind of wanted to learn more about you. And I know that when I met you, we talked a little bit about, what you did.
Yeah.
And but I wasn't very clear until I actually started kind of looking through your page. And I can't tell you how fascinating that is. Because you know what? Honestly, I think you and I discussed it briefly. It's so hard to find, a Latina that you could have something in common with. Although all women have something in common, right? But to actually meet someone who kind of has the same concept that I had when I started the Greater West Covina, it's inspiring to me because it's just cool. But you said something to me that kind of is still in my head right now. Like I'm trying to, I'm trying to figure out why, like the why, as to why this happens. But share a little bit about that. I know you said that when you meet other Latina women, you kind of feel a little hesitant. Because I know you go to events. I go to a lot of events. And sometimes you don't click with some people, right? But when it's your own race, I guess I could say, it feels weird, right?
Yeah, and it's happened. So we talked about it. So I've gone to events, obviously, like you said, we all go to events, right? But I've noticed that a lot of times when I approach like other Latinas, like trying to introduce myself, I don't get necessarily a warm welcome from them. And I've kind of narrowed it down to a couple things. One, I think it's a lot of them will respond to me in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. Like my family was from here generations back, like from here. And then, my parents went through that whole generation where you were looked down upon to speak Spanish, and they kind of had to stop speaking it to survive in this area. Wow. And a lot of people that come over from other countries too don't understand that because they weren't here. But it's something like specifically like that group of people went through in like Southern California during that time frame. And so my parents didn't speak it as a survival method to not get beat up at school or to get a job.
Wow.
Or so do they know it? Yes, but did they teach it to us? No. Could they have? Sure, but it is what it is.
And that's okay because I speak Spanish, but did I teach my kids how to speak Spanish? Negative.
Yeah, like,
I don't know why. And it wasn't something that I did purposely.
Yeah.
Only my firstborn I did because she lived with my parents. But the other ones, no.
yeah. And it's like, I could still understand like the basics and, you know, still words I can say and everything too. But I think a lot of times that does put off a lot of Latinas, and they're like, oh, you're not, you know, you're not Mexican enough, or you're not Latina enough. And then, so it kind of starts like with the whole.
So
negative
how is that being defined? Because we're dark, we're Latinas, what? I don't know.
That's a funny thing. Like, how can you honestly define that? Like, just
Exactly.
because-
There's a lot of Hispanics who have blue eyes, blonde hair. I have one of those, and it's like, okay,
yeah.
so there's not a specific way that we're
No.
supposed to look, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird, but it's happened to me as well. And you know, a lot of times when I go to professional events, I get super dressed up. Like I want to look professional. I want to play the part of a CEO. And well, that was before, and I really felt like that was important. But it kind of intimidated people. I don't know why I intimidated a lot of people, and I would try because I just always feel like I could learn from, you know, from another, you know, Latina who's, wow, who, you know, upholds a, you know, a big position or something.
Yeah.
But instead you feel kind of rejected.
You do. And I feel like that also leads into like mentorship. Like there's a huge lack of mentorship within women, but then even like within Latinas, like you said, do you know one like beforehand, like before you got to like where you are, did you have one that was like a Latina that you could have gone to and been like, hey, like, you know, I need help with this, or can you give me advice at this?
Actually,
like,
I do.
Oh,
Actually, I do. And she has green eyes, and she's blonde hair, and you know, and no, I mean, she was like my mentor. I think without her, I don't know if I would have continued doing what I'm doing. I would call her for everything. I mean, only because I knew she was in the same. She worked in the industry that I was in, and no, she gave me honest, you know, feedback, honest like answers. You know, you really want to know the truth. Well, this is the truth. And so I just felt like I was very fortunate to have someone like her in my life, and I still do. We're not the best of friends, but we still, you know, I still feel like no matter how many months go by, I could still call her and ask her for advice, and vice versa. She does that with me, and we help each other. And she, you know, she works in you know, public affairs, and she's an awesome lady, and I have a lot of respect for people like her. But in her position, I've met many, and let me tell you, it's not the same. It's almost like they feel like I almost feel like, maybe it's my own personal feelings, that I feel less than them, or I'm less than they are, which is not true.
Yeah.
And so it's a power trip, maybe? I don't know.
It could be. I think it's also just like a, you know, this social thing that's been put into our heads ever since we were younger too. Like, you know, of this whole, I hate doing air quotes, but like respecting authority type of thing. Like, you know, like they're at this position and we're not yet. So we feel like, oh, we're not as good as them or whatever. But it's like you said, it's not true.
But we don't have to think that way.
No.
I don't think that way, because if I start thinking that way, then I won't be good at what I know I'm good at. And, you know, and I love to network. I love to, you know, tell people they're beautiful, and they're, you know, I just love to empower women naturally. I don't care what nationality they are. Honestly, like, I don't even look at that. Like, to me, that's not something that the first thing I see, oh, that person is this. No, to me, we're all equal, you know, and I don't know. I just don't see people like that. But people saw me as the young
Little brown
third
girl.
person. Yeah, brown girl. Brown girl. And for a long time, for many years.
Yeah.
And in my head, you know, I was like, okay, you know, after a while, okay, I'm brown, and where are you? And look at where I'm at.
Yes, exactly.
You know, because that's what I have to tell myself in order for me to get out of the door and still come and do my job. Otherwise, they could take me down very easily, and a lot of people let that affect them. You know, and so through what you do, you know, I don't know. I think it's great because we need to empower more, you know, young women, you know, young ladies that are, you know, going to school to pursue their dreams. But even if we're older and we want to go, you know, and do something, so what? Go do it. Go do it. You know?
It's funny, like, how you say that, because when I was younger, I didn't notice this, but I guess I always had, like, entrepreneurship ever since I was younger. Right out of high school, like, senior year in high school, I started a clothing line. And I had a clothing line, sewed everything from scratch. Like, I had a partner with it. But then from, like, the clothing line, I would also, like, you know, at one point I was baking or whatever. Like, I always did something. But, like, going back to the clothing line specifically, I never had a place to throw my fashion shows. Because back then, marketing was also completely different. The only thing around was MySpace. So you couldn't like market, like you had to actually purchase like, you know, something to be in a magazine. And like I was a kid. I didn't have money to do that. And I wasn't going to take a loan out for something like that.
Yeah.
And, but I'd never had a place. And when I would go look at like event spaces, it was like $1,000 for like a day to like, you know, occupy it. Cause you need more, you know, you need the time for setup, cleanup, all that stuff. So you need like a whole day to do like a fashion show. So I would never had a place to do like anything I wanted to do.
Your parents didn't clear out the garage and said, Mija, you have a space now?
My dad, yes. Yeah, ask my dad. I still take over his garage today sometimes. And he's
You
like,
see?
that's my garage. Give it back. But yeah, definitely when I was sewing, I was all in his garage all the time. So yeah, but I couldn't throw a show in there. Like, you know what I mean? But that was part of the inspiration for the den is like, no matter age, like wherever you're at with your business, at least now you have a space that's not going to break your pocket. Like it's not going to make you go into debt for your company, but you can now host your own event there to help grow your business.
So are you a member, do you have a membership fee that for people to be part of your den or?
It's not a membership. Eventually it's something I do want to grow into where there's like specific like member events that go on and you get discounts for using it. As of right now, there's no membership. It's just, if you want to rent it out, just send me a DM or, you know, an email from the website, however you want to contact me. If you know me, text me, whatever. And then we look at the date, book the date for you. So there's no membership right now. It's just book it whenever you want to use it type of
it'd
thing.
be nice if you had a membership because people could pay and you could subsidize your rent and your, you know, because people still have to use your, you know, your electricity,
Yeah.
you know, and things like that. And I mean, I wouldn't mind if I knew that I was going to have, you know, privileges and be able to use it and rent it because it's going to come to a point now where, you know, you're going to be a member of the GWC and so we're going to be like promoting you and,
grow.
you know, yeah, we're going to help you grow for sure, for sure. Well, that's always my goal with everybody that I meet, you know, is to have, you know, good communication with you, get to know you, and really know you. Like really know you and understand you, and if you have feedback for me, I love it too because really nobody comes here and tells me anything except for JR sometimes. But no, but I love suggestions only because you know we're like-minded.
Yeah.
And that always helps other people. And I have a lot of friends that are the same way. You know, I also have friends that want to start a business, but they won't do it.
Yeah.
So I always say, why? What are you waiting for? Oh, until I have money. Oh, this. I said, first of all, you know, unless you're going to put your own money,
You're
because
never
I don't
gonna have
know
the
where
money.
you're trying to get the money from, but you need to start somewhere,
Yeah.
right? Like, what's your vision for your business? What's your vision? Write it down. Do a vision board. You know, that always
Yeah.
helps. And then you start taking things off, right? And you start adding something you could change.
And then you start doing small stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's business is different, but even like obviously for me, you could have, I don't remember if I actually did. No, I did. I would host like, you know, random smaller events. So just try to get your foot in there before you even got your space or however, like meetups, whatever it is that you need to do, or fundraising if you need to fundraise, whatever it is that you need to do.
Yeah, anything helps, right? I mean, I think that's important. But networking, I think it's especially important when you're trying to start a business because what happens when you decide, oh, well, I want to do insurance? You're going to go and tell all your family to quit their insurance company and go with you, right? You're going to go through your whole family first before you actually, you know, start networking and start, you know, meeting other clients and working on your, you know, on your book
Yeah.
or whatever they call it. It's like everything, right? When you sell cars, make sure that family member comes to you, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with any business, right? You always want, you know, your family support, you know, because that's important. If you have a spouse, make sure your spouse supports you 100%, not just 50%, 100%, because that's so important, right?
Yeah.
And then you start building out of that because all dreams came from a little seed.
Yes.
Right?
That grew and grew.
Yes. So we're the only ones that can water it, you know, and that's how you grow. And that's what I always tell people. Don't be afraid. I love talking to young girls most of all because they all have dreams.
Yes.
You know?
And that's why, like, I wish this existed for me when I was in high school. And in a sense, I do. But in a sense, I also, even with all of what I've been through in my past, I'm happy, like, where my path has taken me. So I'm like, well, if it would have existed, what would I have done, like, out of high school? But then I wouldn't have gone through everything I gone through.
Exactly.
But it would have still been nice to know, like there's resources out there and there's, you know, stuff. So now, girls in West Covina, if you guys are watching this, you got
No,
two resources right now you could go to and just talk to them. And I would love to, if there's any young girls, I would love to talk to them about, like, you know, what they want to build. And if you want to use the den, like, I'm always open to, like, working out to how I can fit your budget too. And so
Yeah, bring them in there and have them, like, because sometimes it's hard to talk to our parents about, you know, what we want to do in life. I know I always told my parents I want to be an attorney, and they were like, oh my God, you know, because I just always felt like children had rights, you know. I never wanted to come to California to live here. I wanted to stay where I was born, where I was raised, you know, as a child, because that's where my friends were. That's where, you know, that's where my roots you know, were. And to be taken away from that at, you know, 10 years old, 11 years old, and coming to a big world, you know, it was like, wow. Okay, so I don't know, it was just so weird because I didn't even know what a hamburger was. I had no idea that people, they call tacos the hard shell tacos.
Oh, yeah.
To me, it was like weird. And when they gave me a hamburger, I was like, what is that? I didn't know that you eat fries with ketchup. It was Jack in the Box, and you probably don't know, but it had an actual Jack in the Box on the top.
I don't think I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, a pickle? What the heck is a pickle? I don't know. You know, Pete thought it was bologna, the pepperoni.
Oh.
Like, it was weird. It was really weird because those were not, you know, that's not what I was used to. And cereal in the morning for breakfast, that was even worse because I'm like, okay, like, people get to pick what cereal they want.
Like,
wow.
where are the eggs?
Yeah. So, you know, I was raised different. And again, for me, was the language barrier that really just shattered, you know, all the things that I wanted to. So I was really angry for a long time at my parents because I'm like, this is not my life. I want to leave. I wrote so many letters to my grandma to come pick me up.
Oh my God.
And she actually did and didn't let me go with her. But I was ready to leave because I couldn't find myself here. Plus, like you said, you know, with your parents, they didn't speak the language. So for me, going to school was like, what is this? I was so advanced in school. So, you know, it was like, okay, third grade, we're doing 2 plus 2, 4 plus 4. What? Okay. You know, but that's all I knew, math. Other than that, I didn't know anything else. Wow. So it was very challenging. So for me to step into what I'm doing now, it was probably one of the biggest challenges of my life. But I went back to school when I got divorced. I just said, you know what? Okay, so I know about dentistry. I know how to, you know, I know all the instruments in dentistry because that's the field that my ex-husband was in. But that wasn't good enough for me. That was not my thing. I knew my thing was something else. And I figured it out.
Nice. Now, because you brought this up, like your whole, like, you know, family supporting you and stuff, did you have that? Like, because I know a lot of things, like, usually when I ask women, like, you know, what's some of the best advice you can give to, like, up and coming, like, entrepreneurs or whatever, and a lot of them will say the same thing, like, your family will be some of your biggest disappointments.
Yes.
Because they will not support you.
And that is very true. So with my ex-husband, of course, you know, or you can't do what you want. You have to do this because this is what we do. This is what we're used to. Yeah. With my family now, like my parents, my husband, oh my God, I think it goes beyond 100%. And I don't think I would have done it without his support.
That's good.
You know, because I started this, 14 years ago?
Wow.
And it's been 10 years since I've been married to him. So he met me in the middle of my chaos, you know, trying to build myself, trying to build, you know, the greater West Covina. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy, you know. But somehow, some way, you know, as many times as I fell, I got up. You know, I got up, wiped my tears off and said, get up, go. Get up, go, get dressed up the next day, get dressed up. And I would come home and be like, why did I get so dressed up for what? I would come home so disappointed. But then I would get up the next day.
And do it again.
Yeah, so it always helps to cry.
Yes.
And, you know, and to...
I tell my boyfriend that all the time. Like, when I'll be like, oh, I cried about this. He's like, why are you crying? I'm like, I have to cry. Like, that's just me, though.
Thank
like,
you.
I
Yeah.
have to get it out.
That's not just you, it's me too.
Yeah, I'm like...
and many others.
Yeah, I'll literally walk into the den. I can't tell you how many times I've walked into the den since starting it and, like, stood there and, like, cried for, like, 2 minutes. And then I'll be like, okay, you cried. Now what are we going to do? Like,
Yeah.
you know, but that's just me. Like, if I don't get that emotion out, then I'll just be sitting there with emotion trying to figure out what to do.
And then everything makes you emotional. That was me.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest things that I could say I'm proud of was when I first moved here to the Plaza West Covina, and I did my grand opening ribbon cutting because I was doing that for other people, but I finally got to do my own. And I had 60 people on my RSVP. 60 people.
How many people showed?
Probably over close to 500 people.
Wow.
So I sat there with some of my some members, and I stood there. I mean, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk because I was so emotional. I was so emotional. I was like, wow. Wow. And maybe I'm exaggerating,
No,
500,
no,
but
that's-
I don't know. To me, it just looked like
Well,
a million people.
I mean, you should know event planning. If it's like that 50% rule, like if you get 100 that RSVP, you only really expect 50 to show.
But I honestly didn't feel that supported. I don't know why. I didn't feel that supported. And to my surprise, I was like overwhelmed with, I don't know, I was just so emotional. I just felt like God bless me, and I don't know, I was just like, I don't know, when I went home, I remember, going to the parking lot, and I sat in my car, and I was like, did this really just happen to me? I was like, wow,
did.
it was so exciting, and and many of those people that came and supported me, they still do. So I don't know. I don't think any dream is too small. You just never know the impact that you're having on people, but maybe they're just too scared to say it or just just tell it.
Yeah.
Now for me it's easy because I've been doing this for such a long time. That I want to be that example to other people. And no, I don't make $1 million, but you know what? I'm okay with it, because we keep growing. We keep growing, not just, money wise or members come and go. Okay. But mentally, you get stronger and you're able to face more things.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I just feel like, it's a scary road, but you can't give up. If that is your dream, you can't give up.
And I get reminded of that every once in a while because anybody that's started a business, you have to know every month is an up and down. Especially I'm in the first year, so I'm going through what I've been told is one of the biggest hurdles. Like, get through your first year, and you can make it, right? But every month, like some months will be like up here, and some months will be down here. And then when I'm down here, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, and then you have a moment, but then I'll go to something. Or I'll have one of my own events, and a girl will walk up to me, or she'll text me after the event, or email me and be like, "Thank you for creating a space like this for us. Like, I've never had one." And then I'm like, "Okay, I remember why I cried the other day. Now we can get back to it."
Exactly.
But you get reminded of. But that's the beauty of it. It's like, and that's always been my thing. Even like with my own podcast and like telling my own story, it's been, okay. It's not about changing everybody, but if I can just reach that one girl that might be sitting, or even it doesn't even have to be a girl, if I can just reach that one person that might be sitting there struggling with like something that they've gone through and be like, look, I made it out too, like I'm nobody different than you, like that's what it's about.
Yeah, I sometimes too, when I talk to other women, they feel like because I post on on social media, it's not, you're not really telling it's not real. It's not like your real life, right? Not everything is happy.
Oh, no.
Happy-go-lucky things or whatever. There's your life, and then there's your real life, right? And to me, it's like people always say, "Oh my God, you're so lucky this, you're so lucky that," but they don't really know my life, or they don't really know my struggles or what I've gone through, and I don't expect them to know. But how they view me, it's just incredible to me. I just like, wow, people really think that my life is like that. Come on, you have to understand social media, right? And it's very deceiving.
Yeah. Oh no,
I mean,
for sure. It
especially
definitely
with
is.
all those filters that come out too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I don't look like that. Are you kidding? This is how I really look.
Right? I know. I'm always like that too. I'm like, you guys, filter's on. Had a bad day today.
Right?
Filter is on.
They help
Yes.
to a certain point, as long as you don't look totally different. Because
Yeah.
even Jared tells me, you don't even look like that. And I just like, wow.
Thanks.
I know,
Thanks.
thank you. But, it's just something fun to do, something, and sometimes you're not doing it because you want people to think that you're better than them or anything. It's just, I don't know.
Let's face it, it's marketing. To
Yeah.
be completely honest,
Yeah.
like, it's marketing.
Some people might think that they know you because of your social media, but they don't really know you.
No, yeah.
And when I really started talking deep about, my struggles and the kind of things that I went through in my past too, I mean, some people are like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to you. It just doesn't seem like, it doesn't fit you, who you are
But
today.
what-
And I'm like, yes,
It's part of your. It's still part of.
So I don't
yeah.
take it as something bad. I take it as something good because I'm glad that it doesn't show on my face. You know, and and I keep going. But we all have our struggles. We all, like I told you, we all, we cry, we want, but we have to be patient. If there's something that I have to tell everybody in any business, like you said, you have to be patient. Unless you have all the money in the world to go, then you do that. But you know what? That business is not going to matter to you. Like, it will matter to you if you actually were wearing, had holes in your shoes and you had to work to get a new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
If you just got all these shoes and you're ready to go and you're just like ready for your business, that's great. But some of us are not that fortunate, and so that's why our businesses mean everything. So I will protect the Greater West Covina, my Let's Connect Now, with everything that I got. They'll have to kill me.
It's your baby.
Yeah, they'll have to kill me.
I know.
Because I'm not going to give it up just because they think they know more than I do. And you just have to stand strong.
See, look, you're an inspiration to me.
No,
I'm not lying though. When I first found you, because I'll be honest, I was looking for like the West Covina Chamber. Didn't know, right? Just started the business, and I'm like, I know Covina has one. Like, where's West Covina? I couldn't, and then I found you guys, and I'm like, is this it? Like, is this, or what is it? But then I was like, oh, like a woman runs this, and then yes, I'm Latina, so I was like, oh, Latina runs this too. Like, that's awesome. And I think that's why I like followed you guys, and then I was like trying to reach out and connect, and then finally it happened. But honestly, I was like, that's dope. Like, there is a woman that runs.
Ooh, I like that word, dope.
Welcome to my 2000s in high school.
So with that, you know what? I know that this conversation is so good. I want to talk to you forever and ever and ever, but we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation because it's just getting better and better.
Oh, yeah. Hey everyone, this is Amanda from the FemPowerDen. Hope you're enjoying this episode. Just a little more information about the Den. If you're looking for a place to host an event, you need to do some content creating, even co-working, studying. I know there's a lot of students out there. The Den's a spot for you. We're local here in West Covina. If you have any other questions or you want to contact me, my info will be below. Hope to see you guys soon.
Oh, we're ready? Oh, hey, we're back. We're back. I was reading a text that somebody sent me. And I don't have my glasses, so I can barely see.
I took mine off too because I was like, "Is the lighting?" So.
What does that say?
So
I know we're talking a lot. I'm talking a lot about myself, so I want to go a little deeper with you.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me a little bit more about who Amanda is.
Who I am. I honestly that question still drives me crazy sometimes. Because I'm like, do you want to know like the career Amanda, the other Amanda?
Whatever
what
you want to share, because I read an article
Uh-huh.
and I found it very fascinating that somebody wrote that article about you, and I think you said a lot of things that were important to me, and I just felt like, wow, somebody put it together very well. So, so were you part of a march or something?
Oh yes. So okay. So that is one thing that is me. I graduated my sociology degree, and sociology is that's my love. It's funny. So I have this whole thing about being older and doing things that are non-typical social timelines, right? I went back to school late. It's not late. Go whenever you want if you want to go. But went back to school late and then started my business in my 30s, according to a lot of people, you're behind or whatever.
I don't think so, but okay.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But when I finally decided to go back to school full time, because I did go for a little bit for fashion at the beginning, right out of high school, but didn't finish that. I had you have to take a social class for your general eds. And the moment I took that class, I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. It clicked and I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. And so then, for what is that, your AA, I did behavioral science. And then when I got my bachelor's, I did sociology. So I've always been passionate about social issues, bringing them up. Obviously, I know if you're not necessarily in a position of power as far as laws and stuff, yes, you can have change, but how much can you really have? You can spark the conversation, but that's been my thing. There's a lot of stuff that we don't talk about that are social issues that need to be talked about. At least start the conversation. And a lot of people don't like to talk about them also because they're taboo and they're uncomfortable.
So give me an example of that.
Either racism, people don't want to talk about that, or, I have this big struggle with feminists right now. Like a
With
lot
what?
feminist, the word.
Okay, you can say it. I mean, you just say,
It's
just
a
say
big
it.
struggle. A lot of people associate me as that. And obviously, I mean, the den's called FemPowerDen. It has fem in it. But I have a struggle with where it's gone to lately and like what it stands for these days, and it's like that's never been me. Like, you know,
But why is that? I think now it's more accepted than it's ever been.
accepted, yes, but it's also kind of turned. If you look at, there's so many different sides of it now. I mean, originally it was definitely something that was more started by white women, to be completely honest. Like, it was that whole phase, and it only really benefited them. And still to this day, a lot of the issues only really benefit white women. But it also has turned into this whole thing of like, some, like I said, don't quote this on everybody, but some of it has turned into like, you know, we don't even need men. Like, we don't need a man, or we don't, you know, and it's just like I get what you're saying, but at the same point, like,
That's not true.
yeah, like stop lying to yourself. Like,
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying, you know, like maybe a man isn't your partner, but I'm like, everybody wants somebody. Like, let's get this whole thing out of your head that you're like happy by yourself. Somebody's probably gonna eat me alive on this, but whatever. But yeah, it's
Why do you feel that way? Because
there's like, when you go, I don't know, just because of the fact of like the whole, because I did women gender studies too.
Oh.
So I got deep into the feminists, but when you go into certain lines, there is a lot of women that are like, no, a feminist means this, or means this, or means this. And I'm like, honestly, you know, it's like, if you're a feminist, then it's just whatever you believe kind of empowers you. And so that's fine. Like, that's fine if that's what you believe, but like, that's not me. Like, I'm not like, I don't need a man, I don't want a man, or, you know, or it's just like, I'm better than them. And it's like, no, like, I have my place. Like,
You have yours.
yeah, like, you know, it is what it is. So I have this huge kind of issue of where the word has gone now, but it's funny because all of my friends associate me with it, which I get because I've been very outspoken on a lot of things. And, you know, I have gone to marches, and the Women's March, like when Trump got elected, and, you know, the whole thing, like I went down there by myself, and I do a lot of things by myself, like concerts and stuff. I go out to concerts.
That's
by myself.
empowering, though. You know that, right?
It's so, yes. And
That's
it's
very empowering.
I love it. And it was something like I was in, to get more deep into me, I was in a 12-year relationship with my ex from, I guess I was like 18, I guess, till whenever we broke up. I think that's when I met. And there's a lot of things he didn't like to do with me. And it became a very toxic relationship, and everything was like geared towards him. Like, that could be a whole nother topic one day, but.
Oh, believe me, we have a lot of things in common.
But so like my life became geared towards like taking care of him, protecting him, and stuff like that. Yeah, we probably can have a good conversation about that.
Yeah.
But so when that ended, it was funny. One of the first promises I made to myself was like, this next year coming up, I'm going to do whatever I want, even if nobody wants to go. Like, none of my friends want to go with me. Like, out of all my friends, I'm probably one of the biggest concert goers. Like, they have to, like, Beyonce, I can get some of my friends to go with me too. But like, if it's a smaller one, I can't really find that many people. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to do whatever. So I started like, you know, going to eat by myself, just going places by myself. And like, concerts was a huge thing for me. So, but that type of, it is. And even till this day, I'll still do it. Like, if my boyfriend can't join me, I'll be like, well, I'm going. Like, it's still something, and you always meet people.
Yep.
And it's so fun. Like, just recently, I went to the Cheers Wine Festival over in Pomona at the Fairplex. Mm-hmm. And one of my friends, she was supposed to go. We both got tickets to it. She happened to get COVID. And then she's like, here's my ticket. See if you can find anybody. Couldn't find anyone. And I was like, dang. And we bought the VIP tickets. I was like, dude, that's a lot of money going to waste. So I was like, screw it. I'll just go by myself. Just happened to walk in at the same time at these two women. They were Mexican too, and they were like lost just like I was. And so we walked in, and I was like, hey, ladies, would you mind if I joined? Like, you know, my friend couldn't come. Why did they know who my friends were through Instagram and their business? God. So then we ended up like connecting, hung out the whole night. I had like one of the best nights, and I went alone. Like,
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I think that's one of the things that I learned too. Is just being alone. It's so empowering. Even if you feel lonely during that time, you just feel like, oh my God, I'm just this little person with, you know, with all this. But I was doing that. I was going to go eat. I was eating by myself. Mm-hmm. I was, you know, going to things by myself, and I could still do that, and I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. You know, like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I don't have to have my husband with me all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, I can go by myself. I'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. You know, I love spending a lot of time by myself, reading my books, and I just like, think that's empowering.
If you don't enjoy your own company, mm-hmm. how is other people going to enjoy your company?
I get to know myself, like, a lot more. Mm-hmm. Don't you feel that way?
Yeah.
Like like you said, you met these ladies or whatever. That's because you have a great personality and you click with them and you guys had something in common. And so that just tells you like it's okay. You know, some people find it like, oh, I'm alone. You know, I'm a loser. I don't have any friends. You're your own friend.
Yep.
You know.
And then also, like, if you're gonna go on the entrepreneur journey, it's lonely.
Oh yeah.
Like, so that's part of something you kind of got to get used to too. But you think like, and going back to social media, everybody sees you out and doing stuff. Like a lot of my friends are like, you're always at things, and I'm like, am I, or am I just posting what I'm at?
This is from a year ago.
Right? Like,
I'm kidding.
no, I do have some of like, especially like a lot of my wine posts. Like, if anybody knows me, that is part of me. I'm a huge wine person. But a lot of times I take the take the picture and post it like a week or two later. But it's because you need content. Like,
Exactly.
everything's a marketing.
So you're getting creative.
Yeah.
And then some of those pictures that you took, you know, maybe a year ago, they're important now. You know, they mean something to you, right? Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's really awesome. I mean, the fact that, you know, you're able to do things like that just says that you're a very strong, you know, young woman.
Oh, thank
Because
you.
you are a young woman.
Thank you. I feel like I'm old. Once I got into the 30s, I was like, oh, here I am.
Oh, wait till you get into the 40s and then closer to the 50s. Yeah, it's going to feel kind of weird, but oh well, you know. You'll start dealing with, I don't want to age. I'm just kidding.
Don't tell me. I felt like I tell everybody or anybody that I still know that's under 30, I'm like, wait till you hit 30. Like, your body literally changes that week. Like, it stops responding to certain things certain ways. Like,
Wait till you have a baby. That's even worse.
yeah, I haven't done that one yet. So,
Yeah. No, but that's really cool. I mean, it just shows how strong you are. And I think the fact that you chose this, you know, to do what you're doing right now to empower other women, but you're able to share like who you really are and you're able to stand with what you say. That says a lot about a person. Like I could say, I stood with, you know, with our, you know, last president and I regretted it. You know, but I was able to say it, and a lot of people know, oh no, you have to be for Trump if you're a Christian or if you're a Republican, whatever. No, I don't. You know, yeah, I'll say it. No, I don't. You know, but if I could say that, you know, that just makes me stronger. Now I have to tell you why,
yeah. No, it's your... You
right?
stand for whatever you want to stand for.
And two, I mean, we see a lot of posts too with, you know, all these young men that are trying to do, you know, things to protect vendors, to protect, just to protect them, you know, even if if they're undocumented, whatever it is. I just saw this post that, you know, and as much as you don't want to say, maybe it's just a very high dislike for this woman, but that, you know, went into this taco stand. I don't know if it was a taco stand, you know, or a small little restaurant outside. I'm not sure. And this lady, walks up to them, and I don't know why she got mad. I don't know if you saw it. And she started throwing all the food, and she even beat up one of the cooks, one of the ladies, a Hispanic lady. It was an African American woman that was very angry. Oh boy, and she slapped her.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
And I don't know, it caused me to be angry. Like, I was really mad. And I don't know if I was mad and my husband said, you're not mad at the race, you're mad at the lady. And I said, I don't know which one it is. You know, because I didn't know. And I think a lot of people feel that way.
Are you mad at the situation, maybe?
I don't
too?
really know what the situation. I just saw when she slapped her, and that's what I was mad at. And she threw all their food on the ground. She got all their food and started dumping it.
Yeah.
Because that's abuse in every sense of the book. I don't care. That's abuse. And I don't know. I try to figure things out. And
That's the attorney in you.
I don't know if it's that or what, but but I just got angry because my parents, you know, also owned a restaurant and they worked in Pasadena, and a lot of things happened to my parents, you know. And I just felt, I guess maybe it just triggered
hit
something.
home. Yeah.
I think
It
it hit
probably hit
home,
home.
because he got mugged a lot of times, you know, and I just felt like I couldn't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. But at the end of the day, I mean, you know, our past doesn't define us. I always say that. You know, it only makes us stronger. Even if, you know, through what you went through what I went through, we're just stronger women, you know, and we can be an example to young women. You know, you don't have to accept that. Because honestly, when you were 18, did it really, anything anybody told you, did it really like make you do what they said? No.
No, it usually made me do the opposite.
Thank you. Right? Right? Because
Like,
like nobody's
totally.
going to tell me what to do. I'm
Yep.
going to marry that guy. Oh, I love him. You know? And little do you know that it's not love. Love has no feelings.
Ooh, that's an interesting topic.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It's actions.
I could see that.
You know, I don't know. To me, it's just all actions. You know, that's how I'm able to show people that I love them. But it's not just saying I love you, I love you, I love you.
Oh yeah, because words could be, somebody could be a liar.
Because I don't know what that feels like. You know, I know what love is, but it's just weird. I know. I don't want to talk about that, but yeah. No, I love everybody. I do.
She's lying when she texts you. I'm kidding.
Ask me how many times I text that because I don't. You know, maybe my kids, you know, but I'd rather say it to your face, you know, if I really, truly love you. But I do. I feel like I love people, and that's why I do what I do. I think you're the same way. I think you want to empower other girls not to go, or women, to go through what you went through and experience, because it's hard. It's really, really hard, you know?
It is. And that, yeah. Whenever I do talk about like that part of my story, I'm always like, you know, if somebody's like trying to make an example, like if you're in something similar to what I was in at the time, like you're not alone, but I get how hard it is and how you can't see really what's going on in the moment either. Because it did take me a while to look back and be like, damn, like what the heck was going on? Like, what was I thinking? But you thought you were in love with somebody, you know? So yeah.
And so do you see the difference from before and now with your new relationship that you're in?
Oh yeah. 100%.
Isn't it incredible?
And it's funny too, because how you said, like, make sure your partner supports you. Like, he was semi part of like kind of like inspiration or push towards me to like start it too, like my whole business as well. Cause he found I went through a whole process of like different things that I was trying to figure out like what the heck is it that I'm trying to do, right? Like all this time I had a regular like 9 to 5 or whatever, but so I had a blog originally called FemPowerDen.
Oh.
And I would do similar, like I would interview, but then I would type it out. If anybody knows me, I have the worst typing grammar. Like my spelling when I type is just bad. I don't know what it is.
You think you're bad.
We're gonna have a competition. And so, like, I would get tired, though, because I would do, like, a full-on, like, 40-minute interview with somebody, type it up, and then...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it got really... I was like, I can't do this. But then I would also type articles, like, the sociology articles that I wrote about. So I'd also have, like, articles and blogs on that stuff. But then at some point, I just got tired of typing, and I'm like, I should just do a podcast. But let's be honest, like, if you're not in the world, you kind of think podcasts are really hard to start when... They're not. Like, you could just...
Not if you know him.
Yep. We got somebody for you if you need to start one. But even, like, for real, though, like, if you really wanted to just start one with not that much equipment, you can do it these days on your phone.
Yeah.
Like, if you got an iPhone, you can pretty much start a podcast these days. But you, like, not knowing that or not really knowing anybody that had a podcast, I was like, I don't know how to start a podcast. What do I need? Like... And so he, one day, like, when we first had started dating, he's like, hey, I found, like, your blog. Why don't you do it anymore? I was like, oh, gosh, did you read it? Like, crap. And then I was like, well, I wanted to start a podcast. And he had one, or he has one still. And he's like, oh, well, I have one. Like, I can show you, or you can borrow my stuff. And then I'm like, well, I want my own stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I want my own stuff. What if I can't use your stuff one day? Like, I want my own stuff.
What if you get mad at me?
Yeah. Or you're not available this day and I need to record. Like, I need my own stuff. But no, so then, like, he just kept, like, I swear it was, like, once a week or maybe twice a week. Like, so have you started your podcast yet? And I'm like, oh, my God, okay, fine. So, like, I started it and then, like, came up with the name with it. And then from there, I was like, okay, what else can I do? And then that's how kind of, like, the Den came about. Because years ago, I had this thing called Women's Network something that me and my friends tried to start. And we would, like, all meet up at some place and talk about things. Like, oh, let's go volunteer here. That didn't work out. But we didn't have a plan. Like, it was just kind of, like, this thing. So I was like, well, I've always wanted to do this. I have the podcast, but I also want to talk about social issues. So then, like, that's how the Den kind of formed. And he has similar things in some of his business that he runs as far as, like, event spaces. So he kind of helped me out, like, with that, too. And I'm sure if you ask him, he'll probably be like, she didn't listen half the time I told her to do things.
Well, you weren't ready. I mean, there's not really a time when you say you're completely ready, but, you know, you just got to do it sometimes. You just got to go for it, you know, because there's never going to be that perfect time for anything. Everybody says, oh, I'm going to have a baby when I'm ready. Oh, I'm going to buy a house when I'm ready. When are you really ready?
Never.
Seriously.
It's just going to happen when it happens.
You just got to do it. You just got to do it. Sometimes, you know, the blessing comes when you actually take that step forward and you just do it, right?
And that was me. And I found myself, like, searching for a location. For one, I knew I wanted to stay in the 626. From the 626, like, if you guys don't know, it's tatted on my knuckles. Like, it's from the 626.
What does 626 mean?
West Covina.
Oh.
Girl, you're the greater West Covina.
There's different codes for everything
We
nowadays.
were, what were we originally though? When I was in elementary, I think we were. Is it 8? Was it 818? It was 818, right? Yeah. So somebody asked me, "What if 66 changes?" I'm like, "Well, it's been majority of my life." So.
Well, I'm still 626, and I don't live here.
Well, yeah,
But
but definitely. But for me, it's just West Covina area.
so, what is it about the 2626 that you had to tattoo it on yourself?
That's where I'm from. Not in that sense.
Okay. I still don't get it. I don't know what it means. I'm sorry.
No, it's just it was.
What's our
literally-
age difference again?
It was literally. You know what's funny? That was my first tattoo too, and So quick backstory in the tattoo. I faint with needles, right?
Oh,
So when I was like 18, I asked my dad, like, "Can I get a tattoo?" And he's like, "When you're 21." But they thought I would never get any because I literally faint with needles. Like I go give blood and faint. Like I'm just faint.
Like seriously, like pass out?
Yeah, and
Oh my
I tell the nurses all the time. They're like, "Sweetie, like you're over 30, you don't faint." And I'm like, "Okay." They do it, and I faint. They're like, "Oh, we're sorry." And I'm like, "Why didn't you listen to me? Just because I'm 30 doesn't mean I'm not gonna faint." Like, that's just me. So, anyways, my dad never thought I would get a tattoo. So here I come home with my first tattoo on my knuckles, and
What
like,
the heck? What a place to get it, though.
I know, and it hurt. It hurt.
Well, that way when you go to a club, 66, right? You don't have to write it down with the Sharpie
Right.
or a
You know where
pen,
I'm
and then
from.
they never call you because
Yes.
they erased.
You know where I'm from, but yeah. So all that to say though, I love West Covina. So I knew I wanted it like a building in this area or whatever. Oh my god, I forgot what we were talking about. That it brought me to that.
No, you wanted to stay within your
Within the area.
66, yeah.
And I couldn't. I'm totally blanking on why I was bringing that up.
That's okay because we're having such a juicy conversation about
About
the
the
66.
knuckles, right?
Yeah, knuckles.
But it was hard to kind of find a location. Oh, it was making excuses. That's what it
Oh,
was.
okay.
So, and I kept looking, and I would be like, "Oh, what do you think of this place? What do you think of this place?" And like, I found one in Glendora that I actually kind of like. I made up some sort of excuse that it didn't work. I found another one in Covina. I'm like, I don't know. That's kind of high rent. Like, I don't know. Can I pull it off? And I would just keep coming up with excuses. And then one day he was just like, just make a list of what you need to run. And if it has it, just go with it. And it's
Yeah.
kind of that thing. Like, you just kind of have to just do it, jump into it, and
Yes.
see if it works. And here I am. What have we been open 7 months now? So,
Oh, only 7 months? Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Oh, wow. Well,
Open-
congratulations. I know I heard you talking about it when we went to that event at the Met Spa. And you notice how everybody just like jumped in because they were giving ideas. You should have stood to the end. It was really fun.
I had
all
like
the stuff.
4. Oh, I was throwing my own event that day. I was
Yeah.
having the wine and vibe that
Yeah.
day. So that otherwise I would have stayed.
Yeah, I wish I could have gotten invited to your Selena paint night because I love Selena.
I had a couple of friends that didn't get to make it. So if I have enough, I'll do another Selena paint
Yeah,
night.
because I love painting. I love to paint by numbers. Why paint by numbers? And that's what I did during the pandemic. You should see my spare bedroom. I framed them, and they look so pretty. And it gave me it helped me with my anxiety.
Oh, that's good.
And but going back to you and your tattoos. So even though you faint, you got plenty
I don't faint
more.
with tattoos though. That's the most random thing.
And that's like the worst thing ever.
You know what I think it is? I think it's like this whole mental thing of like blood leaving my body. Because I notice like when, you know how, so like when they're drawing blood, like there's the tube. If the tube is on me and I feel the warmth of the blood, that's when I start to go down. And it's not like the needle or the pain. I think it's like the subconscious of like, oh my God, there's blood leaving my body. And then I feel the warmth and I'm just like,
Oh.
it's the weirdest thing. So I have to like psych myself out when I go to like do blood work or anything and be like, we're gonna be, and then I pack my like bag with like chocolate and treats.
Look at you. Like you want to replace that blood right away?
Yeah, I need that.
Oh my
that sugar
God.
back. I know.
Wow. Well, good luck when you have children and they take blood every single day after you give birth.
That's what my mom said. My mom's like, I don't know how you're gonna.
Or when they
survive
poke your
birth.
baby on the foot and the blood's coming out, and you're like, "Oh my God, how could you do that?" Yeah, no. But no, I mean, I think it's very interesting because I'd never heard of anybody so passionate about staying within the 626.
I know.
So there's got to be a reason why you're so passionate about
There
that.
was also like when I graduated 05 from West Covina, just throwing out my.
Oh, you went to West Covina High
Yeah,
School?
went to West Covina High School.
Congrats.
Yes. But that whole generation of like the class of 05, some of the 04 and like the 06, we were all very like, there was a lot of like guys chasing like their music dreams, but everybody was all passionate. Like we were from the Cove, we were from 6 to 6, like we had hats, like it was this whole
Was there
group
emo
of
people?
us. No. They were like
No?
hip hop,
Okay.
like underground hip hop and like all that stuff. And then, I mean, like I don't even know if you guys know of like Jansport J, but he's a famous producer from the 626. But he's always still to this day will represent the Cove. Like he was part of like our whole like inner group as well. And so it's just like I feel like all of us that hung out and was from like that or I guess class group or whatever. That's all it was about was like the Cove in 66. So I don't know. We might have just made it that big. I don't know, but
Interesting.
that was kind of us.
High school's interesting. No, because I think my son was in West Covina High School during that time,
Okay.
but he was hanging out with the rockers, and and then he reminded me of something because they used to cover the whole eye with the hair.
The emo
That.
the emo bang.
Yeah, that. And his friend, and they had piercings that were safety pins, and the pants. They started coming out with the skinny jeans.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
all pinned up with pins and stuff, and I was like, oh no, where's this kid going? But hey,
I think almost every kid has at least like one emo year.
something. Yeah, well, I got called that today, so that was kind of weird. Anyway,
Called an emo? How? Why?
somebody called me that. Who do you think it is? Let's take a wild guess on the wild side.
Somebody sitting on the other side of this room?
Yes.
Dang. Pushy and calling people names.
I was like, what is that? I forgot. But then when I read it, I'm like, okay. And then it came to me that's what they used to call.
Yeah, it was. I'm not going to lie. I had I didn't have an emo bang, but I did have like the side swoop, but it did cover my eye. Like,
So you were a little bit part of that. Well, that was the style back then, right?
yeah,
Kind
the
of,
side
sort of.
swoop. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, so we're going to give out your information, of course, at the end of this conversation. And I just have one more question for you. So the difference between a podcast and a show, do you know what that is?
I don't know.
So would you
Video?
say no, would you say that because we pre-tape it and we actually show ourselves physically, do you think we're a show or really a podcast?
A show.
A show.
Yes.
Because I've been thinking about it a lot because it's something that I kind of learned from some of the conversations that he's been having. So now I'm questioning it every day, and I'm watching like podcasts and they're only audio. Audio or someone sitting there with the microphone by themselves.
Or there's little snippets of videos, like
Or even pictures. They just show pictures of incidents and stuff, right? So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Because some people say you're not really a podcast; you're like a show because you're very entertaining and this and that. And I'm like, are we? That's why I called it an episode because I was like, I'm gonna ask her because
I would
you
say
did the
you're a
same thing.
show, but a show can encompass a podcast as well.
Right.
So I feel like there's the whole net, like the show is the net, but you could still technically be a podcast because I don't know if you do take your audio and put it just on the podcast or not.
Do we? No.
No.
Well, yeah, no. Anyway.
No.
Well, he's a producer. I don't know what he does with that. But so yours is an actual podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
I have like the YouTube channel that I just started, but it's not going to be full. Like the YouTube channel is going to encompass some of Brunch Talks with it because that's the podcast, but it'll be snippets of some of the interviews, and then it'll also just be like separate things. Like the podcast will be the serious conversation, but say like if this was it, like this was the podcast part. After I would be like, hey, let's record like a little 5-minute thing of just I don't know doing maybe more random questions, like never have I ever questions or questions from the audience, or doing a blind tasting of wine or something. So the video for me would be a little more. Probably just like entertaining, funny stuff, but that's just to get the engagement.
Okay. So with that, any last words, for anybody who's looking to get inspired by you, by what you do, rent a space, maybe start a business, because I think you and I can both help in some way. So, if you guys want to get in touch with us, I mean, we would love to help, but I think this girl is very inspirational. I mean, I'm sure she has a lot more on her agenda of things that you want to accomplish in life, and that's pretty awesome. I know one day you'll tell me. But for right now, if anybody's looking, to host, a small event, empowering women, right here.
Right here,
And
West Covina.
and we'll give you, her information, her Instagram, or you want to tell them your Instagram?
Yeah. So for the den, it's just the den is short for FemPowerDen, but the Instagram is just FemPowerDen, and then the website is FemPowerDen.com. So pretty easy to find us.
So all your information is on there because I saw it. Like I told you, I went through your whole through your whole Instagram page. So thank you so much for, for being here, for sharing a little bit about yourself and, allowing me to say a lot about myself. Really appreciate that. And yeah, we'll come back and sit down again and do this again because, there's a lot more that I want to, find out about you. And I think it might be something interesting that would inspire other women, So with that, we're going to say, have a great evening. Thank you so much. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully soon we will be another platforms, but I don't know. I still have to talk to this guy about that. But for right now, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Amanda, for being here. Don't forget FemPowerDen, okay, on Instagram. FemPowerDen. All right, good night.